Did it start?
Okay, Susan, whenever you're ready.
Can we get the agenda up on the screen?
Do you mean you had it pulled up? Press PC on the table.
Well,
And that should pull it up if you had it pulled up online. Is that the?
okay,
see it now,
that
yeah.
worked.
Okay, good.
PC.
Well, it was up and down and up and down.
We
so-
were testing it. So
Okay.
Sorry about that. I think we're ready to go.
You're trying to trick us.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Let's get it out of the way now.
Okay.
Is yours on?
All right, I would like to call the meeting to order. The City of Redondo Beach Public Art Commission regular meeting held this Wednesday, September 28th, 2022, in the Redondo Beach City Council chambers located at 415 Diamond Street, Redondo Beach. The meeting is called to order at 7:01. And I will turn this over to Kelly Orta for roll call, please.
Turned off on me. Sorry about that. Commissioner Cagle?
Present.
Commissioner Klein?
Here.
Commissioner Melendez?
Here.
Commissioner Christian Kelly?
Here.
Commissioner Pucci?
Here.
And Chair Lappin?
Here.
And noting the absence of Commissioner Sharma.
Okay, very good. I will ask everybody to rise and join me with a salute to the flag, please. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They're so high.
Thank you. Before I move on to approving the order of agenda, there are two additional items I would like to address. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Commissioners Christian Kelly and Melendez on their reappointment to the Public Art Commission. Yay. And secondly, I would like to turn this over to Ms. Orta to introduce the city's new cultural arts manager, Gary Margolis.
Thank you, Chair. It truly is an honor to, and equally as exciting, to introduce our Cultural Arts Manager, Gary Margolis. He comes to the city with a lot of extensive experience in public art, as well as a number of other tasks that we're so lucky to have him on the team with. So with that, I'll turn it over to him just to say a few words to you all. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Good evening, commissioners. I'm very happy to be here. Before I came to Redondo Beach, I worked for the city of Aurora in Colorado, where I had a very similar job. I was the manager of the Cultural Services Division there. We had a theater, a public art program, a history museum, extensive historic sites that we managed, and we also had a very large arts education program. So we did classes for all ages and all abilities at various facilities throughout the state, throughout the city. Before that, I worked for the city of San Diego, the Commission for Arts and Culture. So I'm coming back to California. I was the grants manager there. Prior to that, I worked for the Nevada Arts Council, the state arts agency for Nevada. And then my first public sector arts agency job was with Broward County, Florida, which also has a very large and successful public art program, and that's sort of where I began learning about public art and developing those skills. So once again, I'm really looking forward to working with all of you, and congratulations on all the work you've done so far.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are very much looking forward to working with you as well. Welcome to Redondo.
Yes.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the order of agenda, please?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Pucci's made the motion. We have a second.
I second it.
Commissioner Melendez is seconded. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so moving on to item E, there are two blue folder items. The first one is the Commission Subcommittee review and project update that will be reviewed under agenda item J1 under the Mural Committee, or Mural Subcommittee. And the second one is blue folder item number 2, discussions and possible actions to reschedule the Public Art Commission's November 23rd meeting, that will be reviewed under agenda item J2. Moving on to the consent calendar, business items, except those formally noticed for public hearing or discussion, are assigned to the consent calendar. The commission members may request that any consent calendar items be removed, discussed, and acted upon separately. Items removed from the consent calendar will be taken up under the excluded consent calendar section. Any items under the consent calendar will all be approved in one motion following oral communications. I'd like to poll the commissioners to see if they would like to remove anything from the consent calendar.
No.
That is a no. So we will move on to the minutes. Does anyone have any corrections to the minutes that are dated July 27th? I do have one correction. Under item K, member items and referrals to staff, CA 101-2022 ran from September 2nd through September 18th, 2022, not October 18th, 2022. Are there any other corrections to the minutes?
No.
Okay,
Sorry.
moving on to the Public Art Fund
Kelly.
report.
Chair, Chair, if I may, sorry, my mic wasn't working again. So are we pulling the minutes then to edit that, or are we, I'm just trying to.
There's one correction to the July 27th minutes. Just needs to be corrected, and we'll approve it as corrected.
Can you,
Do you want me to make that motion separately or at the end of the consent calendar?
if it's just a minor correction, we can make that, you can just verbalize that without pulling the item. Can you just clarify, you said it was item,
No, I don't want to pull it, I just want to correct it.
correct, no, I'm just trying to figure out exactly where that correction is. Can you just repeat where that was supposed
It's
to be? in the
item
minutes?
K, member items and referrals to staff. And it states that CA 101-2022 would run from September 2nd through October 18th rather than September 18th. That's the only correction.
Okay, I have it. Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Okay, so then moving on to the Public Art Fund report. We'll turn this over to Ms. Orta to give us the report, please.
Sure. So at the beginning of the current fiscal year, which our city fiscal year runs July 1st through June 30th annually, the account balance was $874,622.06. Following some expenditures for both payments to utility box artists as well as the completion of the site surveys for the utility box art program, as well as some of the deposits for the 1% development fee, which is per the Public Art Ordinance. The account balance is $887,692.
Okay, very good. Did you want to address the question that was from the last meeting here or in your director's report about the ARIA development?
I can address it now if
thank you.
I actually unfortunately don't have too much to address. We did reach out to the Community Development Department to get some clarity on that. And the person we needed to speak to was unable to get back to us in time. So I apologize for that. So I have it on my notes to get back to you on that at the following meeting.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. Then may I have a motion to receive and file the consent calendar with the July 27 minutes as corrected?
I'd like to make that motion.
Commissioner Pucci has made the motion. May I have a second?
I second.
Commissioner Christian Kelly has made the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now, there are no items in the excluded consent calendar, so we'll go to the public participation on non-agenda items. Are there any e-comments or emails under this category?
There are no e-comments, no one on Zoom, and no one in person, Chair.
Thank you very much. And there's no one here in council chambers, so we will move on. I don't believe under agenda item I that there are any items continued from previous agendas or items for discussion prior to action for anything previous. So we would then move directly into J1, which is Commission Subcommittee Review and Project Update. There are 3 subcommittees and multiple orders of business to attend to under this agenda item. The first committee to report will be the Mural Subcommittee. The blue folder item number 1 will be presented here. There are 3 items for discussion under this subcommittee. The first are the mural locations in South Redondo. The second are the mural locations is the mural location in North Redondo. And the third is the mural call for artisan marketing plan. The Mural Subcommittee is comprised of Vice Chair Pucci, Commissioner Klein, and Commissioner Melendez. I would like to turn the meeting over to Ms. Orta before I turn it over to Vice Chair Pucci to give a presentation.
Thank you, Chair. So just to add a little bit more from what the Chair just recalled about the item, since the last meeting, we started to look into the lease agreement for the facility at the Artesia office at 1922 Artesia. So the community services, this is the location of the North Redondo Beach mural that the commission wanted to move forward with. We started looking at the lease agreement so that we can then reach out to the owner to start negotiating and seeing if we can get the mural on there. It was at that time that we noticed that the lease agreement itself does expire at the end of December 2024, which, is a little over 2 years away. And considering the amount of time it may take to get a mural put up, as well as the fact that there is a level of uncertainty on whether we will continue to be at that office, I just would like the commission to consider selecting another location for the North mural location. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, so under consideration then by the commissioners is to abandon the location at the Community Services Office because they are not planning to renew their lease there. And should we put a mural on that wall, whomever leases it afterwards would have the right to paint right over it if they so chose. So I recommend that we approve the staff's recommendation to find an alternate location for the North Redondo mural. And I'd like to poll the commissioners to see if they're in agreement. Commissioner Cagle? Commissioner Christian Kelly?
In agreement.
Commissioner Klein?
Agreement.
Mr. Melendez?
I agree.
Commissioner Pucci?
Agree.
And I'm in agreement. So I would like to make a motion that we formally abandon the location at the Community Services Office and find an alternate location for the North Redondo mural. May I have a motion?
I'd like to make that motion.
Commissioner Pucci made the motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Klein seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, so then if we would like to, since we're on this subject, we could go and review some alternate possible mural locations for North Redondo. I'm sure that Commissioner Pucci has some things to put in. I have some things to consider. I'm sure everybody has something. So I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Pucci to lead the discussion.
Okay. Yes, I was looking over our master plan in regards to second locations or an alternative location for that. I don't have the name of what I was just reporting, so I'd like to turn it over to Marcy right now to see what her idea was for her option to throw out there.
Well, you should know my idea because I keep coming back to it. It's the Grant Avenue train tracks, over the bridge and that area. I still don't know what's happening with that, and that's in North Redondo, and it's a great canvas. Did we, Kelly, did you ever find out if we have permission to use that?
So we did find out, I'm trying to recall if it was that location or there is also the overpass on Artesia, if I remember that location. One of those two, and I believe it is the one off of Kingsdale. I believe that one, the trestles of the bridge are owned by the railroad company, but the retaining wall that sits underneath it from the ground level up to the trestles is owned by the city. So we would be able to do something up to that point. Anything further, we'd have to get approval from the railroad company.
Oh, okay, so we could use both
That's a viable,
sides?
yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that
a
is
viable
good.
consideration. Does anyone else have anything to add? So I have a couple of locations that I would like to look at or to visit. And certainly, it doesn't have to be now, but these could also be for in the future when we're looking at because there wasn't a lot in the master plan that was actually a wall for a mural. There's a lot of places in North Redondo, but not necessarily for murals. Okay. So one of the locations that we had looked at was the Bernie Elementary School. And Ms. Orta, if you could put a picture of that on the screen.
Yeah, can you go ahead? There it goes. Make sure that you have present selected on your tabletop.
Okay. So this wall is on the Rockefeller side between Green and Blossom. So that is a possible opportunity. The second thing I wanted to look at, so there is on Manhattan Beach Boulevard between Dow and Vale across from Northrop Grumman, there is a cinder block wall that separates private property and then there's the public side. And I don't know if that could be a possible consideration for a mural on the public side and what would have to happen to reach out to property owners there. But that could be something we could look at. It's a huge stretch of blank cinder block wall. So that could be a possible location. The other possible location that I wanted to revisit, so, and I'll ask Ms. Orta to give us an update. We had at one time looked at putting a mural on the Ringe Sewer Pump Station in the Fulton Playfield. And we started to visit that project, but we had to stop because we discovered that they were going to update that property with an infiltration project, a water infiltration project. And so I would like to ask Ms. Orta if we have anything on the timing of that project and when we might come back to be able to revisit that, because that was a very good mural opportunity. And we already have some planning and discussion on that. So where are we in that process?
So I did follow up with the Public Works Department on that, and the city was just granted some grant money to get that project completed. They're going to begin the design for that in early 2023. So I would anticipate either late 2023 or even 2024 for that project to be developed enough for the incorporation of art, even if that's conceptual at that time or at the point of implementation or installation, I should say, of the piece.
Okay, so at one time they were looking at interacting with the management team that was overseeing that project to visit with the neighborhood to find out what they wanted to see in the Fulton Playfield when they started to rebuild it back up after whatever they have to do there. And I think that would be a good opportunity for the Public Art Commission to participate in that, to see what kind of artwork the neighborhood would like to see in that area. So I would like to try and make sure that we can be a part of that when the neighborhood outreach goes forth.
Yes, while I was getting the update from the Public Works Department, I did mention that the involvement of the commission during that public outreach. So it is definitely on their list. So when it gets to that point, they'll reach out, and we on our side will also kind of keep an eye on it and make sure that we jump in at the right moment.
Okay, very good. So these are just
I want to
some.
make sure I jump in here.
I'm saying,
I am a fan of the Kingsdale Wall.
okay, well, let me get there. Okay, so these are just some things that we can look at. There's going to be very many mural opportunities moving forward. I think it's good to try and figure out, to do some research to find out if we do one now, maybe we're going to do the next one, and at least we'll know moving forward. But I'd like to poll the commissioners to get their preference, if they have any preference, on the areas that we talked about, to see if we could start to maybe move forward with that as a viable location. So Commissioner Cagle, do you have a preference?
Well, I like the train track and the Bernie Elementary School and that wall that's across from Northrop Grumman. All those three sound good to me. I don't have a preference for.
So you don't have a preference?
Right. But I do like those
Okay.
three.
Commissioner Christian Kelly?
I like the Bernie Elementary School. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry. The Bernie Elementary School. But also, I mean, is this something where I'm wondering if we need to?
Well, I'd just like to get a feel. I mean, if the majority of the commissioners are leaning towards one location, then I think we should move forward and explore that location first. So that's all I'm trying to do, is to get a feel what everybody's thoughts are. Okay, so Commissioner Klein,
Yeah, I like the train tracks and I'm in the
in Kingsdale.
but I do, I mean, as a second line, I do like Bernie. I haven't seen the place that you were describing, but I do like that wall if we can, because I hope we don't stop at just one.
Well, no, but we have to take one step forward first.
Okay,
so-
then if I have to choose, I'll choose
Okay.
the trestle, the
Would
train
you like
track.
to explore that first, or would you like to explore Bernie first?
Oh, no, the train.
Okay.
I've been trying for
Okay.
4 years.
Yeah, okay.
I'd like to
so-
get it started.
Commissioner Melendez, are you the?
I'm in line with Marcy. I like the idea of the train tracks. I also kind of agree with her as far as a multi-pronged approach, so I don't see any reason why we couldn't be exploring both locations. But if I had a preference, I would prefer the train tracks over Bernie.
And if we did explore two locations at once, would Bernie be your second choice?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the other one. That's a nice wall at Bernie.
I would move forward with because now know it's viable, the train tracks, to put a mural there. I do have a concern of Bernie. I live very close to this neighborhood, and the people who live just across the street, it's really just a one-way road. So whatever is put there will have to be very soft, very gentle, not too impactful, because these people will literally look out their window and see it every single day. So I think it should definitely have a beautification done to it, but I would just hesitate until we figure out perhaps like an artist or a concept that would be soft.
And that would be part of the consideration when
Yeah.
we're looking at artwork for that, specific to that. So,
Definitely.
yeah.
So I definitely think it would definitely benefit to have a beautification in that approach.
So are you Kingsdale first and Bernie second?
Correct.
Okay, so it seems as if the entire commission would like to explore the train tracks or Kingsdale location as the first opportunity for a mural. And at the same time, should we encounter any roadblocks that we don't know about yet, we should also explore Bernie Elementary School to find out if there's anything that would be prohibitive. And then once we gather all that information, we can move forward and formally do a call for artists for those locations. Commissioner Klein.
I don't know if, I mean, I know Kingsdale is important, but we had another one that's already approved the location. So that one is already
We'll
first,
move on
right?
to that. This is,
Okay.
like, she's just going through.
Just for North Redondo.
Just North Redondo.
Okay, you didn't specify, so I wasn't sure.
Yes, I did. So anyway, it doesn't matter. So we're just talking about North Redondo now. So these are the 4 opportunities that I saw in North Redondo and that we talked about. So again, I think then the way that we should move forward is we should agendize this item on our next meeting and ask staff to review these 2 potential locations to make sure that they're both viable and that there's nothing prohibitive in putting a mural there. And then formally get it on the agenda, and then at our next meeting, we can move forward to start to create whatever we need to, the call for artists and everything else, to move that project forward. Does anyone have a comment or?
So we're going to agendize it and then call for artists would come after that
Yeah.
at the next
Yes,
meeting?
because at the next meeting, we will have the information as to whether there's any problems with either of those 2 sites. We don't know that right now.
Okay, I
know it's frustrating.
no, it's not frustrating. It doesn't make any sense to not call for artists. Like,
Because we don't know what we're calling for artists for yet. And right now, we haven't created a mural pool, and we have to talk about that. So if we're going to, when we get to the talking about the mural pool, there's no reason we can't move forward on that. And then,
no, I understand, but my theory is that we're still going to need artists. These are flat surfaces. I feel like we should pump the call for artists ahead of.
you cannot put a call for artists out if you don't have a specific location, unless you are calling for artists for a pool of artists like we talked about doing. That, if we can move forward with that and use art from that, but we still need to agendize this to find out whether or not we can move forward with either of these 2 locations that are preferred by the commission.
Okay,
Okay? Does that make sense?
sure.
Okay. Does anybody else have a comment or concern?
No, I understand.
So,
With the trestles as a top
so
priority though, right?
this is what I think the motion should be. And if somebody would like to disagree, please do. I think the motion should be that we agendize on the next Public Art Commission meeting to review the Kingsdale train track location and the Bernie Elementary School location as the possible next step for a mural. And ask staff to review those 2 locations so that when we discuss them on our next meeting agenda, that we have all the pertinent facts in order to make a decision to move forward.
Do we make a motion? Or, yes, I'd like to make a motion.
And Commissioner Pucci has made the motion. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Melendez has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Can I just say something that I'm not sure?
Yes, please do.
Can we find also in our investigation, can the city find out who would give us permission to paint on the train tracks itself? I mean, above the train tracks, I know that they own it. If we could get the contact information and get that rolling, so we can maybe get permission to add to that as well. Because it might be neat to have on the sides and then tied together with under the
The more
bridge.
information we have, the better. I think that's a great idea, so. Okay, so now, before we talk about South Redondo, let's talk about the Mural Pool and the complementary marketing plan to go along with that. And I'd like to turn it over to you to lead that discussion, Commissioner Pucci.
The subcommittee has put a lot of time into our presentation, so we don't have much to report in regards to a artist pool. We know that's something that has been kind of lowered in priority in the priority list because we've been waiting for the Mural Ordinance and Glendale's lead on that. So we have not created a action plan for a pool of artists.
So perhaps this is something that we can ask our new cultural arts manager, Mr. Margolis, to help us explore, to help us craft the language, to create a call for artists, to create a pool of artists similar to what we have for the utility boxes, similar to what other cities do, where they have artists that have already applied, and then we don't have to go out into the ether every time. We have a pool of art that we can look at, and let's say we have 20 applicants. If we want to select maybe 4 or 5 of them to do a specific call for a specific location, we could do that. Since you have experience, this would be great if you could help us craft that language, and maybe we can review that as a formal agenda item on our next meeting. Commissioner Klein?
In addition to crafting the language, might be great if, once that's crafted, if we could take it to our marketing person, we still have a budget left, to have her create an advertisement to put on social media, to do that, to get the word out. So with your writing, with what we can okay, and then our visuals.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So it'd be great if we could approve another, well, we already have the amount approved. We haven't spent it all.
Yeah, so that's
just
great.
use it?
So that's
Okay.
perfect, absolutely. We can absolutely do that.
Okay, so does we have to wait till the next agenda to get the language, I guess, or can we work on that? If the language comes in earlier, can we send it to our artist and move forward
No, because the language has to be approved
first? Okay.
first, as far, I mean,
But do we have to wait till the next meeting, or is that something that we can do in between? Or I guess the language has to be
The
approved by
language
us?
will be approved at the
Yeah,
next
those-
meeting.
yeah.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
Chair, if I may, I just wanted to clarify, because at the last meeting, one of the motions was to have the Mural Subcommittee develop the call for artists, and then the Marketing Committee develop a marketing plan. It sounds like that's now being shifted to staff, and if that's the case, I just want to make sure that that's the intent of the commission, that staff would develop that and then return at the next meeting for you all to consider.
yes, that is the intent, because this
It would be the
staff
smartest.
has experience in crafting that, whereas the commissioners do not.
Okay. So if I can just have a formal motion for that, just so we can make sure we capture what the commission wants in the final item, that would be appreciated.
So can I ask for a motion to have staff draft the language for the Mural Pool call for artists?
I'd like to make a motion for the staff to create the language for the call to artists, for the artist
Commissioner
pool.
Klein has made the motion. May I have a second?
I second it.
Commissioner Cagle has seconded. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. So the second portion of that would be, once that language is drafted and approved, then we will take that to the design artist that we have on retainer with the money that we've already been approved to spend, and have them draft a flyer or an artistic component to go out with the language.
Yes.
Sounds good.
And I don't think that needs to have a motion at this moment.
No, you're correct.
All right. So with that, now we are going to move on to South Redondo. And Commissioner Pucci?
I'd actually like to present in front so I can see the projection that we are going to have. Is that okay?
You can also see it on your screen if that would be easier, but you're welcome to go up there if you'd like to.
Okay. I'll just come
Okay,
up there.
okay. Do you want me to get the movie started then?
I'll speak first and then.
Okay, okay.
Is this already on?
There's on your side. Oh, it's on now.
Okay, great. Hi. I just felt it would be so much nicer to see you face to face versus with the side. Fellow art commissioners, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to present to you all the hard work findings that your subcommittee has put together and gathered. For those of us who have been on the committee for a long time now, a movement like this is something that we've been really hoping for, to see movement, to see progress, and a chance to leave our contribution before our term is over. We've faced a pandemic, we've faced staffs changing, delays that have put a halt to a lot of the things that we've wanted to plan and see happen. Tonight, let's use those rights that we've been given as a public art commission to create something magical. So yes, the Mural Commission would like to introduce you to mural artist John Pugh. So at this moment, if Ms. Orta could play the slideshow we've put together of his public works.
I don't know if the audio is going to go through, but we'll get it started and test it out. Yeah, unfortunately, the audio, we're not too sure how to get that playing.
No problem. As you watch, imagine some jazzy music playing right now. So John Pugh is an accolades muralist in the South Bay, worldwide. We've done our research and we are here tonight to propose his artistic talents to beautify the Public Works wall on Gertruda and Catalina. We'd like to suggest the theme of the mural to mirror Redondo Beach's rich musical culture. Since the 1940s, our great city has been at the forefront of live music, beginning at the Redondo Pavilion, which is now King Harbor. Even today, Redondo is home to some of the most popular live concert events, including our local pier and beach life. The placement couldn't be more fitting since Catalina is the fairway to King Harbor. John's eye to capture history and popular culture is unique. His art creates an optical illusion, creating a three-dimensional look on 2D surfaces. Our subcommittee would like to provide John with historical research along with popular cultural imagery of our beach city and ask him to create a one-of-a-kind mural to document the story of Redondo's music culture with his artwork painted along two corner walls on the Public Works building. The total cost of his project will not exceed $100,000 and will start with a proof of concept of $8,000. We would like to open this idea up for discussion and then make the motion to approve John Pugh the $8,000 to start his proof of concept.
Thank you for your presentation. Does anyone have any questions, or can I turn this over to staff for comment before we move forward?
No questions.
Or
So
questions?
I don't have any questions. I'm happy to answer any questions if the commissioners have any of staff, but yeah, if there's any details, we'll jump in on our side.
Does anybody have any questions for Commissioner Pucci?
I do. I
Commissioner Cagle?
am a little confused about, okay, so we pay $8,000. Is that the whole mural or?
This is to start, he's a professional muralist, so this is giving him the chance to know that Redondo is taking this seriously and we are investing in him to create the concept to then show us if we are on board with everything that he has created, then we will move forward with the rest of the amount. 8,000 is the cost of concept.
But you said it could go up to 100,000. I just,
Yes, I mean, his artwork is world renowned. It's not, he would be creating a look that would come with a lot of extra love and attention towards that area of our city, as well as, worldwide, knowing that one of his pieces are in our city. So 100,000 is actually on the low end in his respect of the level of artistry that he puts out.
so what do you think the total cost actually would be? If we're starting with 8,000 and the ceiling is 100,000, what's the actual cost of the?
Did you see the attachment that she did, the budget attachment that she did in
Yes.
the blue folder?
If you think about it this way, 8,000 is kind of like the plans, the blueprint, like the drawing, like the
Right,
script.
right.
And then under 100, up to 100,000 to paint it. So it would never exceed 100. And that includes that, the 8 would be, so it'd actually be 92,000 because the 8,000 would be included in that 100.
It's like a down
So
payment.
with the plans and the art, am I correct?
But
Yeah.
it's not to exceed.
But not to exceed 100,000. Yeah. So it'd be committing to a $100,000 piece of artwork.
It's,
we think about
this isn't some spray paint guy. Like,
No, everybody understands.
No. But I think sometimes people don't. Like, I think on this committee, sometimes we talk about a mural and we're thinking about some guy that runs around on a van and we're putting a paint on the wall. This
No.
guy's stuff
No,
is
no,
going to last a long
I understand
time.
that. It's just the 100,000 is, we're starting at 8,000 and then you're going up to 100,000. It's just,
8,000 is really only for the blueprint,
well,
basically.
that's,
I asked to consider, just as a commission, we really have not had a chance to do much. As the report already was given, we are up to $800,000 in our budget. And so I know in respect to 100,000 on its own, that sounds a lot, but we are granted this lovely fund that we are able to use. And I think it would be such a wonderful opportunity to use those funds for a project like this.
Specifically for that corridor that leads to that area.
Which is a high traffic area.
Big time.
And
Yeah,
art does,
so- No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So I'd like to make a comment. So I really appreciate your vision on this presentation, and I love the way you have described this project. I love all the components that you've put in the project. And I really appreciate this artist. I was not familiar with him. I had researched him online and looked at some of his work, and I think it's an excellent choice. But I do have a problem with sole sourcing a $100,000 project without allowing the city to vet other artists. And I think that you could craft a call for artists for this dollar amount not to exceed 100,000 and state your vision in the call for artists about the history and the music. And that is what you would like to see in the response to the call for artist. And then if we get a response to that, then, and this artist is part of that, then the city can feel comfortable that they have put it out, in essence, to bid as a call for artist, and that we have entertained multiple artists and that we're choosing an artist that's the right choice for the project. And I think that that is the proper procedure for a project of this dollar amount to move forward. I know that causes a delay, and I know that that's frustrating, but I think that that is the way that a city should operate to move forward, to protect itself, to protect the commission, and to really know that we have chosen the appropriate artist. This artist is fabulous, and he may end up being the choice, but you will know that because you have looked at other proposals and seen other things that you might not have even have thought of. So that would be my recommendation.
Chair, if I may, I just wanted to add a little bit more information on that. We did follow up with our finance department again today. So if you'll remember a few months back, we did ask if the commission has the authority to sole source an artist, essentially is what this is coming down to. And the discussion was circled around murals. And at that time, we weren't talking dollar figures, but it wasn't something up to $100,000, at least in that level of discussion. So for the sake of tonight's discussion, and just to make sure that we had all of our facts right, I did reach out to the finance team again today, just to make sure that everything was as we expected. And while there is no explicit language that says that the city or the commission has to go out to a formal bid or do a call for artists, it is in best practices, especially with this high dollar amount, to do a call for artists or some sort of a formal process to review the selections that are available. The finance team did also recommend that just to be sure that we do reach out to our city attorney's office to make sure that the language in both the ordinance as well as in our financial policies are speaking properly to each other, and that we're understanding them properly. So for that, if the commission does want to consider sole sourcing this artist, we would do our homework on the back end to reach out to the city attorney's office to make sure, because what we certainly don't want any further delays, and we don't want to continue down a road and then to say, oh, wait a minute, there's another wrinkle. So just wanted to mention that this evening, that we would have to do a little bit more work, but it's just best practices is not consistent.
Well, and I also have a suggestion. So if we were to move forward with a call for artists for this particular mural, separate from the pool, with your specific language, and if we could get that call for artists move forward right away, the time that it would take for a response and to do everything, because I think this item has to be agendized now, and it's because it's still in subcommittee, which is frustrating, but I think that's what has to happen. Then we could use that time to get other proposals. We could also have those artists then that we could use to seed the pool for the mural artists that we have for other projects. So that's my suggestion. That
I got a question. At some point, we could all vote tonight if we like this and to move it forward.
I'm sorry, say that.
Tonight, like we could all sit here and decide whether or not we like this artist and send it forward. Am I under the impression, I don't know this, I'm learning still, the city council at some point say yay or nay on this?
Well, yeah, everything we do is just a recommendation to city council.
Okay, so this is my understanding of what this council should do from now on, whether or not it's best practice or anything. We do a lot of going back and forth, putting things on agenda and put it in, and then call to artists and whatever, and it stays here. It stays in this compartmentalized unit of us.
Part of that is because we've been in the pandemic and we haven't had any
but what
staff.
I'm saying, we're all, some of us are new to this. Our job, as far as I'm concerned, is on this council, is to get things moving up. It's up to us. All we have to do is say yes or no. It's not our job to figure out who's going to spend this. Our job's to spend money. They go up, it goes up there, and then they can decide yes or no.
That's true, but it's our job. Our job is to do the best that we can to make a recommendation to city council so that they can look at something as a complete project and say, this looks fantastic, I would like to approve this.
I feel like we've done that, and it could be up to us from this day forth on any projects that come along with us.
But we have to go through formal protocol.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I would like to jump in and say, and just ask the commission to really see, we've met multiple times, the subcommittee. We've looked into different avenues and options. We have all wanted something to move forward, to learn that us as a committee, we have the ability to move things forward. There is a best of practice, but as we've seen, our best of practice has also led to roadblocks and cancellations. And I just say for us to make a change, to move forward, we have to try something different. This is not incomplete. This is not an artist that would fail us. He would even be able to start the process of making the mural where he lives and then bring it over here to create a whole buildup and, excitement of this coming into our city. So there is a best of practice, but there is also something we've been gifted, the role of Public Art Commission. We've all been given roles that they put us here to use. And your subcommittee has worked so hard to prove to you and to hope for your trust that you know that we have all the elements here to present to the higher level and have them say, yes, well done.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
guys did a fantastic job, and I appreciate everything you did, and I appreciate this artist, and I appreciate your vision for this artwork. I think it's fantastic. But I also think that there are many other artists that are just as equally committed and professional and could bring things forward. And I think that it's in the best interest of the city and the protection of the city to move forward in a way that is accepted practice for every committee, for everything to move forward, and to not just start arbitrarily saying, well, I'm going to just pick this and not look at anybody else. I don't think that's the right thing to do.
I think our
That
main
doesn't
mission,
negate any
though-
appreciation that I have for all the work that you did and what you've chosen and what your vision is. I think, as I say, I'll say
I
it
think
again,
there's
it's
a
fantastic.
mischaracterization, though, that you just made about us. We're 3 people on the subcommittee, and then we have this many people to make a vote on it. So it's not like you either say yes or no for it to move forward.
That's exactly right, but I have the
that's what
right
I'm
to
s-
voice my opinion.
Correct.
And that's what I'm doing.
You also get to voice that opinion by saying yay or nay if we can move it forward on a vote.
Well,
It's the
we
same
will,
thing.
we will get to that after we've had a discussion. This is a discussion. Everything we do on this commission is a discussion.
Correct.
Everybody is allowed to voice their opinion. Everybody has an opinion. We will often disagree with each other. Sometimes we'll agree. Sometimes we'll learn from things that we never thought of. I've done that many times. But right now, the purpose of our sitting here is to have a discussion and decide how we want to move forward.
And maybe in addition to, by doing a call for artists too, that'll put forth a little bit of more of a power movement for the future murals too. So I don't think how that could hurt by adding that verbiage in there with it.
Well, that's the whole thing is
I don't see how that.
No, I agree. I'm the one, like, since I came here, I was the one that said we should have a pool of muralists. But in this particular case, we picked a location like these. We have locations all over the city. We have to have a muralist. And from what I've been here, since I've seen, for each location, we've been kind of like nickel and diming each location that we got to do a call for artists. To agenda, like the way it goes, the process of the city, we've got to have 2 meetings to do the call for artists. The call for artists goes out, and then we get stymied by city leasing or whatever for the cop thing. Now that's dead in the water. We spend so much time.
That's government. That's the way it works.
And that's why we're
the
here
nature of the beast.
to
And that's why we're benefiting to
That's
have
why
this
I'm
particular
saying for this, this isn't something we just created at, like, we walked outside and did pick someone. We researched, we talked to this guy, we found out all that's involved. You tonight have a vote where you can move something up and let the council decide.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask the question what the verbiage was for the best practices that states that if you spend a certain dollar amount, it becomes in question? Like it's best practice, and who decided that if it's a certain amount, that it may not be okay to assign one artist, to just pick an artist?
Sure. So there's 2 different kind of buckets that we're talking about now. We have the city's financial policies, which are written, which are approved by the city council and adopted. But then there's also the best practices side of things, which, to your point, oftentimes there's nothing in writing when it comes to best practices. That's just kind of a historical. And so what we're trying to do is, when we said that there's best practices for the purchasing of certain items and for public art, that's purely just anecdotal. And that's, although you can go back to agenda items and see the process and you can see how it was done, but there's nothing that requires that to happen in that manner. But when it comes to financial policies, that's stuff we can reference. I don't have copies of any of that this evening, but that's what I was mentioning prior, is that if the commission does want to further consider this, we would have to clarify that language with the city attorney. Because again, I actually feel awful about the facility lease agreement in the North Redondo location. That was an oversight on my part. When I looked at the lease agreement, I looked purely to see if we can put a mural, not thinking of how long that lease agreement was there. So that was just an oversight on staff. And so what we're trying to do is to try to think of these things ahead of the game so that we're not left 3-4 months down the road saying, wait a minute, we forgot about this, we may need to reconsider. So that's kind of...
Okay, because I just don't think my question was answered, though. Is there verbiage somewhere that states that we're not allowed to assign an artist? Or there's a certain dollar amount that we're not allowed to spend without doing a bid?
There is financial policies that dictate funding. And what we need to do is to make sure that the recommendation from the city attorney's interpretation of that is consistent with the processes that we want to implement at the commission level. So I don't know, I don't have the verbiage in front of me, so I don't recall if there's a certain threshold of money. I don't recall if it requires completely off the bat for anything with the John Parsons Fund, how that money is spent. All my understanding is that the commission has the authority to spend that money, obviously through approval from the city council, but that there's also some requirements on the city side with the financial policies. But then because it's a kind of a different kind of an account. It's not a simple general fund account because of the way that the money is brought in and collected. And so that's where we just want to make sure and clarify with the city attorney's office that the direction and information we give you is correct.
I
would
don't
like to
understand why
request-
we wouldn't do our due diligence to go out, just like you would do if you were doing renovation in your home. You would go out and get 3 bids. So I don't know why we wouldn't do our due diligence and get multiple artists to submit a proposal, and then we can sit down and pick the one that we want. That's not to say that it will not be the one you've chosen, which is an excellent choice. So let me finish. So I don't understand why this would be a problem and why we would want to circumvent a system and why we would want to have to go to legal and everything else when we can just move ahead and get the information of other artists. We would then have their artwork in a pool for other projects. We're going to have to, there's timing things on having to have staff check. We might as well move forward in the way that is normal procedure for this commission, for all commissions, and for the city. I don't understand why we wouldn't do
I'd like to answer that. Can I
Yes,
answer
I would
that?
like to, yeah.
I would definitely like to, because I understand that approach, which is why it's also part of just the other part of our agenda that we just spoke about, of creating a pool, of like working towards, we all know that this has been a long process for many of the things, and we are all on board for creating like a pool of artists so that we could just keep this ball rolling. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, we were trying to think within our rights, within legal, finding out exactly what all those rights are. Let's start with something moving forward that has already been investigated, like that has already been seen, that we already can agree this artist is great. So let's start that ball rolling. And in the meantime, the other ball that we have that we're creating, which was the pooled artists, which is the next location that we just discussed, that we have 2 things rolling in our favor, that we're not seen as a committee that isn't doing anything. It's been said, it's been like spoken of that our Public Art Commission isn't doing anything. And it hurts me because we have all had ideas. We've all had things stifled and stumped and not able to move forward. So we are not opposed to creating a pool. We are not opposed to gathering more artists so that our city is filled with multiple artists from everywhere. But while we are creating that pool, can we move a mural forward with the funds? Can we agree tonight that we can have something moving forward and at least just investigated to see, is this possible? Can we make this happen?
This will still make it move forward. This is just adding addition too. So I don't understand why either. Like, this is just.
Let her finish, please, and then I'll call on you, I promise.
Benefiting more. It's just basically, it's not that your artist that you, I really was impressed too. I definitely went overboard with really looking at the Trump Lloyd that he did, and it just was amazing. So I'm not knocking that either. I just think that it's like a twofer. It's like better to have your choice, and then in addition to have a call for artists. I think it's more beneficial if we conjoin both of those together. I mean,
For me,
it's a win-win.
For me,
All right, so I'm going to go back to the old way that we used to do things, and I need to call on people to speak. We can't have this interrupting of everybody. So are you done?
Yeah.
So Commissioner Melendez.
I literally joined this council because of the way things are being done. Now, this call to the past, this history that you speak of and thing, doesn't lend itself to getting things done in this city. There are literally corridors of this city with walls that have nothing on it. We're sitting on 800 grand as a city. We're not a little town anymore. The city's growing, right? I joined this council specifically because of stuff like this, because everybody's afraid to take a swing. You're scared to take a swing. Like you're literally afraid to be wrong. To get things done, sometimes you got to take a swing. Now, we can have this discussion, but ultimately, at the end, we can vote. Everything you said is in the power of you saying yay or nay tonight, whether we do the call to artists and we do it anyway, which is probably what's going to happen, or you can take a swing and send it up to council and see what they say. Because in that respect, once this goes up there and they say yes, and we put a mural on that wall, your next project's going through, your next project's going through, your next project, and we'll have that. We'll have that future best practice that can happen tonight. That's my case. We're sitting here talking about all this old stuff. That's why I joined. I don't want to do the old stuff. I don't want to keep this old history going. I want to make some moves. I want to put some paint on walls.
So when,
My hand is raised. Can I speak?
Commissioner Klein?
One of the things I'm excited about, I felt the same way when I found out we were just talking about one artist, but when I realized who the artist was, I feel like this is an opportunity to have a very famous artist's work in our city. And the fact he doesn't even live here anymore, but he would be willing to come back here to make this art and be part of our city. And now he's international. And the price tag is really amazing for an international artist. And I just think it's an opportunity that we can think about. We can have other artists and we can do other calls to artists, and we can make other murals with the competitive way that we always do it. But why can't we mix it up a bit and maybe do one not competitive, but all the others competitive? Why can't we just maybe get this one, wow, let's get this famous artist in our town and get beautiful art going? I'm just suggesting that because we don't only have to do one thing only, we can do more than one thing. Can we do this one thing now? If the legal wording is okay. Like, is it okay to appoint a famous artist?
Well, when we went out with a call for artists for the Performing Arts Center, we had multiple famous artists and artists of great credential submit to be considered for that artwork. And it gave the commission a choice of art, and there were equally as famous or as talented artists who submitted to that. And so I am not negating any of the credentials or of this artist or his ability at his craft, but I strongly do not believe that we should move forward in sole sourcing something when we should be going out and considering multiple artists for a project of $100,000. If we were doing a $20,000 project, that might be different. But I think that once we are approaching this magnitude of cost, that is the responsible thing to do. And then when it passes up, when the decision is made by our commission and it passes up to city council, they can feel good about that we have done all of our homework and due diligence, and that our choice is something they can accept with confidence and not have to ask questions, because that's our job to do that. Commissioner
I believe,
Melendez.
though, during that time that you speak of the Performing Arts Center, the flow of action was way more exponential than it is right now. Like, your meetings were able to get things done. There were processes that didn't take months, now within our commission years to do. So I understand your past of that process. And I remember that was the beginning of me coming in, and literally nothing has happened since then. And we're coming on to our second term.
I would like to speak to that, because since we have had the pandemic, we have had multiple people in the city staff who were the liaison to the Public Art Commission resign, leave, whatever. Yeah. And so we have not had a constant in it to be able to move forward. There has not been enough staff to enact some of the things we talked about. I have a particular frustration about 3 years ago, when we talked about redesigning the web page, and we made fabulous recommendations and nothing ever happened. And it's unfortunate that because there has to be enough staff to be able to implement projects, and the city, with everything that's been going on, has not been able to do that. And the staff works really, really hard to do, but there's only so many hours in the day. So now that is starting to change. We're coming back to meeting in person. New staff is being added. There are people now that are coming into the city that will be able to give the time and consideration to move our projects forward. So we're all frustrated. We're frustrated with how long it took the utility boxes. We're all frustrated,
but this doesn't come out of frustration. This comes out of, how do we move past frustration and see a path that we are given as commissioners?
I understand that.
We're given the opportunity to look to see if legal and finances say, yes, public art, you guys did your research, you find this person to be a fitting artist for a mural. Our verbiage says it's okay, you have the right, that is our ability. Then let's solve that frustration. Let's solve that moment. Let's not live in that frustration. Let's say, yeah, we have had this. Let's figure out a way where we don't have to be frustrated anymore.
Okay, and I appreciate that sentiment. Commissioner Melendez.
I also think there was another mischaracterization in what you said about responsibility prior of us voting here and sending something up to the council that doing it this way was irresponsible or something to that effect.
I didn't say that.
There was a word of responsibility in there, which I understood it as it being more responsible to do what you're saying versus the way we're saying to do something. Now, as a subcommittee, part of us is us doing the due diligence to bring it to you guys, because we're going to split up into teams, right? Like, having been in the military, you have specialists in those teams. And then the team brings it to a larger body. And then this council brings it to another larger body. As an arts commission, simply put, it's our job to go scour the world, pull projects, right? Cull them and present them to the city council. I'm under the impression, for me, that $100,000 sounds like a lot of money to some people here. We are not a small city anymore. This isn't a sleepy town that's at the post office. This is, in this room alone, this is $1 million facility we're sitting in. Take a swing. That's all I'm saying. If anything, they'll send this up to council and they'll say no. But it's our responsibility to start moving things. Now, I know I'm not frustrated. I didn't take this job because I'm frustrated. I took this job because I want to slap paint on walls. I'm passionate about making this city look better because I grew up in Maryland, in a beautiful city, and then I came here. I want that to happen here. And I see it moving. I see it moving. So that's all I'm saying. It's up to us every once in a while to bring a project here, and you can use your power of the past and the best practice. That's your power of your vote. Yes, yay or nay to move something up to council.
Well, I was going to say, let's poll the commissioners, but go ahead, Commissioner Klein.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, why don't we find out instead of find out if we can move it forward?
So the question is, do you want to do a call for artists, or do you want to accept the sole sourcing of the recommendation of the subcommittee?
I didn't want to. I didn't want to have you do it as a choice. We just wanted to ask the committee if you like the artist, if you're excited about the opportunity to have this amazing art in our town, and are you interested in sending it up the ladder to see if this one sticks? If we, of course, we are able to legally.
I disagree with that. I think that we have.
But I'm a commissioner, and I'm asking for a motion for my thoughts, not for your thoughts.
Okay, so call for a motion then.
Okay, so I'm calling for a motion to poll the commission to see if you guys are interested in sending this one up to council to see if, well, based on if it's legally we're allowed to.
So, is there a second?
I second.
I think she
Okay. So, Chair, if I may, I just wanted to clarify procedurally, because the subcommittee update was the item, just generally speaking, the item that was agendized. The commission's consideration of this particular artist for sole sourcing was not specifically agendized. So tonight, what you can do is you can agendize it for the future discussion, and in the meantime, we can go back to legal. In order to agendize something, it does require the commission to make a motion to agendize an item. Okay. And so for tonight's action cannot be for the commission to send directly to council consideration of having John Pugh do this mural. So for tonight.
But if we, all right, so yes, we have to agendize the item. We have to agendize it for next time. I believe I already mentioned that. But I think that part of that agendizing has to be, do we want to agendize it as doing a call for artists, or do we want to agendize it as a sole source? Because otherwise we're just going to have this conversation all over again. And I think that it would be interesting to know, without a motion, to just poll the commissioners and hear what their thoughts are on this subject. So then we can decide how to move forward with agendizing and everything else. And that's what I would like to do. So I'm just going to throw it out. Commissioner Cagle, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that this artist is wonderful, but I am not interested in putting $100,000 towards his contract or any other artist contracts. I just think even if he's world famous, I just think the $100,000 is the big sticking point with me, with him or any other artist. I don't think we should be spending that amount, even if he is world famous.
Commissioner Christian Kelly?
Can you come back to me?
I can. Commissioner Melendez?
I would prefer to just single source it. I'd like to find out if we can, regardless, to send it up to city council and see if they agree. There's a whole nother council of a body of other people that are going to do the same thing. I feel like our job is to start saying yay or nay and sending things up. So
Commissioner Klein?
I'd like to single source this one and still also do a call to artists for other murals as well.
Commissioner Pucci?
I would like to send this up to being reviewed so that it could be something that starts developing for us, as well as creating a pool for future murals in our city.
And I would like to agendize this item and do a call for artists so that we can move forward with this project as quickly as possible in a manner that I think is appropriate for the expenditure that we're going to be recommending to City Council. So we are sort of split since Commissioner Sharma is not here. So I don't really know what to do other than to ask if I think we need to agendize this for our next meeting and ask staff to explore the possibility of whether the city would accept a sole sourcing for a project of that size, or whether they would require or prefer a call for artists. I think then we'll have to take it up under discussion at our next meeting, and we can make a decision, and hopefully we'll have a full component of commissioners at that time. Commissioner Melendez?
So if we're split now, can't we agendize it the same way? Like, can't we agendize
I don't
it?
understand what you just said.
If we're split now on whether or not to push it through as a single source and the call for artists, can't we agendize it just like that?
Not with a split vote. We do need a majority, but the motion can be simply to agendize at the next meeting to further discuss, because that's different than just automatically sending it up to council. And that's what I understood the polling question was. So that's two different things there.
So
in
by
order to-
simply the fact that she had mentioned it,
So we
Makes it to
have to
another-
agendize the item. So, and then in the meantime, staff can find out the answers to your question if there's a problem or not.
for sure, I got you.
Two parts to my question. I believe the motion that I'd really hope to make is not just sending it up to the council, but to specifically ask for $8,000 to begin the process of giving John Pugh the ability to create a concept. Because as of right now, that was our motion, was to present this to you, to hope that you would entrust in our research, and to agendize the motion of approving John Pugh $8,000 to start his proof
If we
of
agendize
concept.
the item for the next meeting, do we have to name specifics, or can we just decide specifics at our next meeting since it's already agendized and we don't have to then,
Specifics on,
allow the $8,000 retainer that she was,
it can be generalized enough to say to sole source to an artist at that location. And then obviously we have the minutes from this meeting to kind of corroborate with that. So the motion could simply be at a future meeting to consider sole sourcing at that location for the mural installation.
and that would include all of the parameters of the budget and everything that Commissioner Pucci and the rest of the subcommittee have presented tonight?
Yes, tonight's discussion, I mean, we
Right.
certainly will include the comments generated from tonight and include that as part of the next discussion.
So that we would make sure that if it was determined at the next meeting to move forward with sole sourcing, that they could move.
They
we
could move forward at that, yes.
with the financial portion.
Yes, the next meeting, they could make the recommendation to city council to move forward with that one particular artist, yes.
Okay. Did you have another question?
No, that I was trying to figure
Okay.
that out.
So Then can you advise me on this language for the motion, please?
It could just be as simple as agendize for future discussion, the sole sourcing of the mural installation at the Catalina and Gertruda location. And then we'll include all of tonight's discussion as part of the supplemental items.
Okay, very good. Can I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make that motion.
Commissioner Pucci has made a motion. May I have a second?
I will second.
Commissioner Melendez has made a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Am I agreeing to $100,000?
You're
Okay.
agreeing to put this on the
Okay.
agenda for our next meeting to have a final discussion as to how to move forward.
I agree.
So I'm going to call for a yes or no. Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Commissioner Melendez? Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. I would also then like to ask staff to review with whomever you need to determine if there is any barrier in moving forward so that we know that we can actually do that and so that we can appropriately discuss this at our next meeting.
Of course.
Okay, and I would also like to thank the subcommittee for all of their work on this project. I know that you've put a tremendous amount of work into it, and it is greatly appreciated. To all of you, really.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. So can I now move forward to the marketing subcommittee? Do you have anything else to report on the marketing subcommittee?
No, the marketing, do we? Nope, we don't have
We're waiting on
anything.
this stuff, the verbiage for the call to artists.
Okay.
Nope, we have nothing to report
And
this time.
for the historical subcommission liaison?
Nothing to report.
Okay, there's nothing to report there, although I would ask Ms. Orta to give us an update on where we are with the Ito family parquet. If you'd like to do that now, you can, or if we can do it in your director's report, whichever is your preference.
I'm happy to do it now since it's on topic. So we did present the commission's recommendation for the Ito family open space to the Historical Commission, and they were highly impressed and super excited with the design. So wonderful job on that. So at this point, we are scheduled to take that conceptual design to the Recreation and Parks Commission, at their October meeting so that they can review it from the park side of all of the elements. And so then from there, we'll certainly follow back up and make sure that all of the next steps are carefully well thought out so that we can keep the momentum on this project. So it's certainly moving forward.
Thank you very much. May I call for a motion? I guess I don't have to call for a motion since there was nothing to report on either of the other two subcommittees. So now we're going to move on. There's no public comment on it, on any of this, is there?
There are no public comments on e-comments or on Zoom at this time.
Thank you. Moving forward now to item J2, discussions and possible action to reschedule the Public Art Commission's November 23rd meeting due to Thanksgiving. Ms. Orta?
Thank you, Chair. So as the Chair stated, the regularly scheduled November meeting for the Commission falls the day prior to the Thanksgiving holiday. And so we wanted to offer some alternate dates for the Commission to consider rescheduling, just so it's not so close to the holiday and we can make sure that everyone is able to attend. So the available dates that are currently on our city calendar for the council chambers include Tuesday, November 22nd, Tuesday, November 29th, and Wednesday, November 30th. So tonight, we're just hopeful that the commission can select a date to reschedule to, and then we can make the adjustments on our side moving forward.
Okay, I received a correspondence from Commissioner Sharma that she prefers either Tuesday, the 29th, or Wednesday, the 30th. Commissioner Cagle, do you have a preference?
I prefer the 29th or the 30th.
Commissioner Christian Kelly?
I prefer the 30th.
Commissioner Klein?
The 29th.
Commissioner Pucci?
The 29th or 30th is fine with me. I'm open both days.
Commissioner Melendez?
I'm going to say the 30th.
So I think we're split right down the middle. Does anybody have a specific, right, let me ask this. Does anybody have a specific conflict with either of those two dates rather than just a preference? That they cannot make it on the 29th through the 30th?
No.
Work.
Commissioner Klein? No?
You said you had work?
Yeah, it's tough for me on the 29th, to be honest.
It's hard
If
for you.
everyone can do the 30th, I can do the 30th.
I can do the 30th.
Is that okay with you guys?
I can do the 30th.
So then we're looking at Wednesday, the 30th? Do we need to make a motion to accept that?
Yes, please.
Okay, may I have a motion to change the date of the November 23rd Public Art Commission meeting to Wednesday, November 30th, 2022?
I'd like to make that motion.
Commissioner Pucci's made the motion. May I have a second?
I second it.
Commissioner Cagle, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to item J3, the Director's Report. Ms. Orda?
Thank you, Chair. I do have quite a few updates to share with the Commission. Wanted to let you all know that we are finalizing the drafts for the RFP for the Veterans Park Historic Library facility. And we're hopeful to take that back to City Council to get it approved to then release sometime in October. We're targeting October 11th, so hopefully we can start seeing some movement on that facility as well. And again, if you recall, the Commission did make a recommendation that part of that facility should have a focus on the arts, and the Council certainly agreed with that. So we'll continue to keep you updated as we progress on that project. Another project I wanted to provide an update on is the Transit Center. I know that there is a requirement for some sort of public art installation at that facility because it is a new development within the city. They are expecting that facility will be open and operational in either late 2022 or early 2023. And so I am in contact with our transit manager to make sure that as soon as the facility is safe and open for even just walking tours without hard hats, we can certainly have the commissioners do a walkthrough to see what possibilities are there. Because there's definitely some little corners and areas that I think once the commission's able to actually get on site, we'll be able to spark some ideas. So just know that that's definitely something we're still planning for in the future. The Mural Ordinance, I did follow up with the City of Glendale. So if you remember, we were kind of in a standing holding position in anticipation of City of Glendale adopting its Mural Ordinance and taking advantage of all of the study that it had done with neighboring cities, as well as seeing what that final ordinance would look like. And they are currently in the final draft phases of the ordinance and are planning to present that to their Arts and Culture Commission for review. It sounded like within the next month or two. And then from there, that will get presented to their city council. So I know that they're on their way. So hopefully within the next few months, we'll be able to bring you all the final ordinance that they'll have, and then we can start making some progress on considering whether the city of Redondo needs its own mural ordinance. So we're remaining in contact with them on that. Did you have a question, Commissioner Melendez?
I did. Stuff like that now, since you're here, Mr. Margolis, is that stuff that he's going to have a hand in crafting before we get to hear it? Like, is that?
Well, part of that discussion is for the commission to consider what direction we should go.
Okay.
And really our recommendation, at least at this time and before seeing Glendale's ordinance, is for the commission to either create a committee or have an existing subcommittee review that ordinance from Glendale's and then make a recommendation to the commission to consider whether Redondo should have its own ordinance.
Okay, so it's
we
not
can-
like
we're-
administrative as far as.
Not at this point.
Okay.
But certainly once, if it is recommended to draft an ordinance, we will certainly work with our legal team to move in that direction. But at this time, and probably for the first few months, it will really be more on the commission side
Okay,
on the work. But we're certainly here to assist as needed.
all right.
One of the final items is a quick update on the Gateway art piece. So if you recall, with the transit center, there was a piece of work that was supposed to go there. The city council did request that it be relocated. The commission looked at several locations and decided to consider the Gateway Parquet, which is at the western end of Redondo. We have had our public works team look at that location, and they don't have too many concerns, although they did want us to follow up with Southern California Edison, because directly underneath the lawn that's in the center of that property is several utility lines as well as an electrical vault that we may need to have some access to in an emergency. So SCE did go out and look at the area, and they feel that depending on the exact size of the piece, which we're getting that information to them so that we can actually go out and measure, they do believe that if it is to go at that location, it will not be able to be centered in that grass area. So aesthetically, it just may not be as appealing for it to be kind of off-centered. So we're following up with SCE so that we can kind of meet down there and do a little bit more of an informal site survey just to clarify and make sure that we're on the same page. So we'll certainly follow up and keep you all updated on that progress. And
Hold on, that's good news, right?
it's progress. It is progress, yes. The final item, and if I can have the projection, I have to say I am ecstatic to finally announce that we have 9 utility boxes that we were able to get wrapped.
Yay.
So appreciate the commission's patience with all of this over the past several months, at least since I've been involved with this project. I'll just quickly kind of go through the ones that we were able to get installed. These are 2 side-by-side utility boxes at 190th and Blossom. The artist is Doneen Wellman. We have 2, again, side-by-side at Prospect and Camino Real by Doneen Wellman as well. We have 1 at Harbor Drive and Burl. This is just a opposite end. This is 1 single box by our one Mr. Juan Melendez.
Just to jump in here, it took me 4 years to do that. So when you're talking about patience and frustration,
Congratulations.
We have another single box at Aviation Forward by Dagny Tang. This is an interesting one because Dagny, I believe, was 5 when she submitted her artwork. And so she is over the moon, excited several years later to see it up. So excited to see it come to fruition. We have 2 additional side-by-side at Manhattan Beach Boulevard in Vail. And the artist is Marissa Bell Bazan, I believe, Bazan. And then the final one is by Preston Craig at Aviation and Space Park Drive. So I can say that over the past year that I've been working on these, there's been a lot of hurdles, some of it self-inflicted without knowing what I shouldn't have known or should have known. I took copious notes so that we can hand this over to Gary and the rest of our team to make sure that we can try and get the commission caught up, because there is about 11 more boxes that are in that queue that the commission had recommended to council, but we hadn't gotten to the contract phase. So we'll start working on those pretty soon here and hope to get some more boxes wrapped.
So the 11 that are in there now, those are going to be in the process to get done. We have more artists behind that 11 or
So since those 11 have been selected, we have only received, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 new artists.
Oh.
But we also still have the pool of artists that had submitted that weren't selected as part of the first 2 or 3 phases.
do we have a number on how many of them?
I don't know the number.
Okay.
I don't know the number.
But that's also why we wanted to develop the flyers and things
Yes.
to go out for call for artists, because there was no point in really sending out a call for artists when we had 21 boxes in the queue that weren't getting done. But as we start to move through the next batch, then the flyer that the marketing committee created is time now to start seeing where we can send that out and try and bring in new art to review as we move forward with the project.
yes.
So.
Yes. Okay.
And I would like to thank you for all the hard work that you've done on the utility boxes. I know it was frustrating and you did a great job, and I thank you very much.
Well,
really.
thank you. I appreciate it. And likewise, I appreciate everyone's patience on this. So, but just happy to see some artwork up throughout the city.
I'd like to ask a question though about this. I wasn't aware that I know we've all been waiting for them to be wrapped, but that they were actually, there was a day that this happened, or a few days. I was hoping that like part of our spirit of being public commissioners is that we would be able to like promote this or have like some type of news spread. Is that something that's going to be able to be done, or that's not part, is that part of the process as well?
You mean to kind of reach out to local media or?
Yeah, local media.
That happened in previous, with previous boxes, that a press release was done saying that.
Oh,
Yeah. So you might
another
want.
thing I wasn't aware of.
I can send you that. if
Okay,
you like.
that would be helpful. Yeah, if that was done in the past, I mean, regardless, it sounds like a wonderful idea. I mean, these artists have been just as patient as well. So yeah, that would be wonderful. And that concludes.
Also, like,
I'm sorry.
also like the artists being there watching it, getting wrapped and taking pictures and all that, that would be good for the archives.
Yes, all of the artists have been notified. A few of them actually are going to visit theirs and have promised to send photos of themselves standing next to them. So we're definitely in contact with them. But yeah, any additional press or celebration that we can do, I think is a great idea.
And just as a reminder, when the box goes to be wrapped that was sponsored by an outside entity, you need to include that entity's
The name on
and
the,
logo
yes.
that was given to you. So,
Yes.
Okay.
And that concludes all of my director's reports. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any comment or? So moving on to the next agenda item, members, items, and referrals to staff. Do any of the commissioners have any announcements or presentations or something that they would like staff to look at moving forward? Commissioner Cagle?
Nothing.
Commissioner Christian Kelly? Commissioner Klein? No. Mr. Commissioner Melendez? Commissioner Pucci? I'm going to just throw something out here. So as we come to the end of this calendar year and we start to move forward into January of next year, I think it would be a good idea for commissioners to start thinking about and planning to prioritize the projects that they would like to see us work on in the calendar year of 2023. And I would like to agendize that discussion for our January 25th, 2023 meeting. Some of the things that I have on my radar, just as an example, include discussing the updating of the master plan, revisiting the revisions that we talked about to the Public Art Commission webpage. I'd like to bring that project back and hopefully move forward on that. And then we have our mural projects. We have the transit center artwork that we're going to look at. And the mural call for artists, all the things we talked about tonight. I'm kind of noodling around developing a citywide art sculpture project that perhaps we could look at, a lot of communities do that. They did a great one up in the Central Coast with cows. They've done it, the Hermosa did it with surfboards. They've done it all over the place. And it would be nice, I think, if we could maybe do something like that, that we could dot throughout the whole city, that would unite the city as one city, one Redondo, and do something like that. And so I kind of would like to start thinking about that to do in January. That's one of the things that I would like to do. But those are the kinds of things, if you have thoughts about projects you would like to see, we should talk about them. Commissioner Klein.
Yeah, I still wanted to bring up the transit center piece of art. I think we have to decide upon that pretty quickly.
Well, that's why we're talking about doing the walkthrough. So we're going to walk through and actually look at the site, and then we're going to talk about what we want to put there, and so that we actually have a vision of what the site looks like in person. So
Yeah.
that's what that was all about.
Okay, thanks. That sounds great.
Yeah, that's important. That's a really important thing, and I'm excited about that project. I want to put a really cool sculpture or something there. Me too. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, we don't have to talk about that tonight, but those are the kinds of things that if you have something that you're kind of thinking about, or one of these items that we're talking about is more important to you to another, we should try and plan out the year a little bit so we can move forward. Commissioner Melendez?
And imagine being able to get a vote on it and sending it straight up to city council. Wouldn't that be?
Imagine, isn't that on the artwork on the public and the utility box outside of Alta Vista Park? Imagine, isn't that one of those? Okay, so then now moving forward to the last item, which is adjournment.
Let's vote.
I need to announce that the next meeting of the Redondo Beach Public Art Commission will be a special meeting to be held on November 30th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Redondo Beach City Council chambers located at 415 Diamond Street, Redondo Beach. And with that, I would like to call for a motion to adjourn the Public Art Commission meeting at 8:42 p.m. May I have a motion?
I motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Commissioner Christian Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Pucci. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good night, everybody.